I like it.
Yeah? I can't think of anything else. I've been trying.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, are we live now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast. Come follow with us, where we focus on the Come Follow Me study guide, which this year we are doing Doctrine and Covenants, or Doctrine, sorry, not Doctor. Doctrine and Covenants. We're just talking about doctors prior to the podcast, so. Let us know what you think about our intro song. I like it. I just don't know.
It's going to get used to.
Does it align with the pod? Yeah, I like it. I like it, though. It's way better than our last song. Our last song made me sleepy, and it was so stinking long. It was like a full minute. I'm like...
Yeah, it was a minute. I think the problem was that it was a minute, and then you were just like...
I know. I was like, oh, we're on? Okay.
And we could, and the thing is about the software that we're using now, which is the one that we use for our VS.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're using that, right? So whatever. When we're doing it live, we're talking to each other, and we're there, and the music's playing in the background, whatever. And then in this one, you can still talk to each other, but after a minute of not being present, you're like,
oh. I know it was hard. I'll be honest. I was kind of like falling asleep with it. Anyway, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. We're here to talk all about our faith.
Why are you screaming in my ear?
I'm so sorry. Was I too loud? I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah. You know what? I'm excited to be here too. This is so good. I'm actually quite pumped up about today because it answered one of my questions. Remember that one thing that we're talking about? I think it was the last podcast that something happened, and then you're like trying to get out of me what happened and who did what and all this other stuff, and I look like,
oh
and
yes,
you gave me that hug, and you're like,
do you want to give our do you want to give our viewers kind of a little bit of a Cole's notes about the scenario? Because if you got an answer, I think it's important to kind of give a little context. You don't have to say everything, but a little context about what you received an answer to.
So I know Maria doesn't like me taking you guys on a journey, so this is the 30-second version. Okay, she bothers me about this all the time. The 30 seconds version. Tell me if you want the 10-second version, but this is the 30-second.
No. Do the minute version. Do the minute version.
Do the minute.
Yeah, do the minute.
Okay.
Take us on a journey, Miguel.
Now it's going to 15 seconds. Ready?
Okay, go.
So, long story short, something happened to me, and it made me feel low. Like when it comes to self-worth, when it came to questioning my abilities, questioning my calling, questioning what I do in the church, questioning just my mental health, again, my self-worth, my self-value, and here's a little secret that I don't like to say, but I don't have a high self-esteem. Actually, I don't want to say I suffer from it, but I do struggle with low self-esteem. So the minute anybody says anything, it can throw me on a whirlwind. Now I can mask it well because I'm a good presenter, and and all these different things and whatever, and I'm used to the public, being the public eye. But when it comes to self-esteem, it's not high. And so
really,
oh yeah, dude. Oh my gosh, suffer. And when I say suffer, like I will not sleep at night. All right. And
okay, we're gonna have to revisit after you're done your story. I want to revisit that, but go ahead.
Yeah, and so then something was said, something was done, and it just threw my whole life in a whirlwind. And 2 weeks later, I'm reading this lesson, and I'm just like, holy crap! Like, all right, cool. Yeah, and it was.
Did you receive some answers? Some answers, some comfort. Like what did you receive? What comfort?
Comfort. It was comfort. It was the answer. I already got it. Long, like literally a week within that week, the Lord did a lot of he manhandled me. Like it was a constant slap in the face, like reminding me of who I was and my worth and all. So the Lord did what he did, and I received a lot of answers, and I'm actually going to use it in my talk this Sunday. But
oh, nice.
Yeah. And again, I can't go into details. I have to be very, very careful. But what happened today was just a reminder of things will happen, and it's a part of life, and I just have to push through it, and there are greater purposes. And it's just, again, it was a recap of a week's worth of answers. So
I kind of love that because I think this is the perfect forum to talk about callings, to talk about challenges within a calling, to talk about like sometimes as people serving in these callings or in these volunteer positions, people are going to people. Like there's going to be conflict. Sometimes there's going to be misunderstandings. Sometimes you're going to feel offended or sometimes you're going to feel hurt by the words that somebody else says, right? So I actually kind of love the fact that you brought it up here because I think sometimes we don't talk about it enough. And sometimes we feel like every single experience is going to be positive in the gospel in the gospel, yes, but in the church community, remember, we're imperfect, we're people. Not every single experience is going to be magnificent. There are going to be some hard challenges because we're people, but I think learning how to overcome those, working through that, and to still remain faithful in the gospel, it's definitely something that will help us in the long run. So I'm excited that you shared that. Thank you.
And you know me that I don't share. I'm the opposite of where Maria is online. Maria puts her.
I will tell you everything.
Oh my gosh, everything and their grandmother, right? Like she was.
You're like, I can't believe she's sharing that.
It's like, oh my gosh, is she talking about somebody? Does this somebody know it's about them? But she puts her whole life online, which I admire because I can't do that. Because
you have gotten so much better though. I have to tell you. Okay, so if this is one of your first podcasts following us, or if you've been following us for a while and watch our BS podcast, Miguel, when we started, he was so private, like painfully private, that it was hard to get to know you. You just kind of know the exterior of you, right? The fun guy, like, you know, the one that gives you great advice, but you never quite know the person behind it. And I really feel like in the past 2 years, maybe, I don't even know how long we've been working together. Like it feels like a really long time. It feels like too long. No, I'm just kidding. 80. back from 1994. No, just kidding.
Well, we have 80. We have 87 podcasts, right? So I mean, and we took a while, so I would say good 2-3 years working together.
Yeah, I think it's been incredible. I want to give you props for the growth that you've had in sharing. I think one of the things that we often overlook is that there's strength in vulnerability. There's strength in sharing the journey because it's great to share the tools that have helped us, but without the context, sometimes it's hard for people to see how to use them. And then when you share the context and you share the hardship, then people can identify with that because they're like, oh dang, I've gone through that. Oh dang, like I've had difficult relationships at church. Oh dang, like this has been me and this is something that I can do. And if you're still able to go to church, you're still able to fulfill your calling, you're still able to talk about it and show up, then it must mean that I can do it too, right? So that's why I'm a huge believer of sharing everything. Not everything. Obviously, there's limits. But I do believe that there's strength in vulnerability. And I also believe that sometimes vulnerability will create feelings of embarrassment. But don't be fooled by those feelings. Just because you feel embarrassed, it doesn't mean that you did something wrong. So
no, I agree.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I'm excited to kind of hear after kind of where your learning took you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week we are focusing on the second week. No, I believe we're in the third week now, which is called Joseph Smith. Well, it's from Joseph Smith History, chapter 1, verses 1 to 26, and the title is "I Saw a Pillar of Light." Yeah. So tell me, what are your overall thoughts about this section?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing that I took out of this is that there are actually multiple versions of the first vision, and I knew this, right? And I just didn't know, because this is actually used as a tool to talk about against the church, right?
Yeah.
So 30-second recap. You know, we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Saints, both Maria and I. And what we believe in we believe in modern revelations. We believe that we're entitled to prophets just like people of the old. That God loved the people of the old and he gave them prophets. Amos 3:7, that he does nothing without revealing his secrets to the prophets first. And we believe that we are in the latter days. We believe that these are the last days before the coming of the Lord. And so then therefore we truly, truly believe that we are entitled to prophets, just like people of the old, to guide us and to help us through these dark times and in preparations of the coming, not only of the coming of the Lord, but to help us guide us through these dark times, right? So we believe in modern revelation. We believe in modern day prophets. And our first prophet, his name is Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith had a question. and he went into the woods, and we're going to talk a little bit about what he did to prepare. But he received a vision and an answer to a question that he had. Now, this first vision, he he um he told it a couple of times. Like, there were a bunch of times in his life where he re-encountered it. 4 times it got documented, though, right? And it was never him writing it. It was always like a scribe. It was somebody else. And so on paper, doctrinally wise, there are 4, I don't want to say different accounts, but there are 4.
It's the same account from, I would say, 4 different perspectives.
4 different
Because
perspectives. Writing style, right? Writing style, and you gotta remember, like, this is time with, I mean, this podcast being recorded live, and then with AI, we can just throw this into a computer, and then it just transcripts it, right? Like, literally word for word. But back in the day, there was no AI. It was people, and they were scribing. He was talking, people were writing. And so there are 4, same account, 4 different versions of this account. Little modifications here, there are words and all this other stuff, right? And this is used as a piece against the church, saying how we are wrong and we are false and all of these different things. And so I knew that. I didn't know why. And I didn't know how we came to these 4 different pieces and what is the purpose, and actually the benefits of having these 4 different accounts by 4 different people. Because then through these 4 versions, we get the full picture of what actually happened that day, right? And so
he actually spoke to different audiences as well. When he was relating those, it was different audiences. And when we tell stories, depending on who we're talking to, sometimes we may emphasize different aspects. And that's literally what happened with this account.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it kind of gives you the full perspective.
And it happened to me on, when was it? On Wednesday. I worked with 2 schools that day, and I told a story of how this guy stole a pager from my life, from when I was in high school. I don't know if you remember the pagers, the beepers.
You're so old. But for those of you that may not know what a pager is, it's just like a little device that people could call and leave you their phone number. It was like the OG of texting, but you could only text like a few things and then your phone number.
Do you remember the codes? You remember some of the codes? Did you ever have a pager?
I did actually. I did have, that was, I think, my first electronic, a pager.
Yeah, and we had there were codes, right? And so you can put in, you can type in. So the pager, again, for those who don't know, I'm pretty sure people here know. You call the number, and then you type in any number, whatever number you type, it shows up on this little screen, right? And we used to have codes like 143. Do you remember that one?
I don't remember anything when it comes to the pagers. What was that?
143 was I love you.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah,
okay.
I
also didn't have a lot of friends back then, so I don't think anybody paged me.
See, that's the answer. That's the answer. You were paying for.
That's probably why.
You were paying for a service that was not being used. That's the answer.
100%. It is 100%, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was telling the story. So I told the story. It was from K to 5 was one group, and I told the story of when I got a pager stolen, and I had to learn how to forgive this guy, and then we became really good friends. And then he, because he never changed his ways, he always got himself into trouble to the point that he actually passed away. He got into a fight, and somebody hurt him, and then he died, right there on the streets. And so I was more careful with the words that I was using. But then when I went to a middle school, I went into a little bit more detail, right? He went into an apartment. Somebody was saying something to him. He said something back, and the guy had a weapon on him. They engaged in an argument and a fight. The guy took out his weapon and ended his life, right? Leaving behind a mother and a child, a wife and a child, right? I didn't say that to the K to 3s. I didn't even say that. I didn't even say that he passed away to the kindergartens, right? Or to the grade 1s. I kept that.
It was like she just got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt, right? And then he got hurt.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes the words that we use affect how we are. But again, different audience, exactly what you said. Same story, but with the older kids, I was able to include a little bit more detail because they were a little bit more mature and they would be able to handle some of the words that I was using, right? So 100%, different audience, you use different words, different accounts, different, and again, at the end of the day, different scribes, right? 4 different scribes.
Yeah. Because if you were to make now videos based on based on the different times that you actually share the story, they would sound slightly different every time. It doesn't mean that the story is not true. It just means that you gave different details depending on the audience that you were talking to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And so based on that, we have these 4 accounts. So, but now what happens is that we are able to take these 4 accounts, kind of amalgamate them, and so we can get a better picture of actually what we have. And the thing that I wrote here that I love is that the purpose of the Joseph Smith history, so the section that we're studying, is to learn the facts about Joseph. So that's the whole purpose. Yeah, that's the whole purpose of this section, right? Is to, if anybody out there has any questions, instead of going to like anybody else or asking questions, people that are, maybe they may have a bias against the church or whatever, just go to the source. Here's a recount, an exact history of what happened during this period of time when he was asking questions, and you will get the answers that you're looking for, right? And so
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that stood out to me as well. I wish I would have highlighted it, but there's this portion where he talks about like sharing the facts of what actually happened, because his name is going to be used both for good and bad.
Yeah.
Right? So it's important to have your word, and this is what actually happening, because there's a lot of hearsay. You know, sometimes we go through things and people like to say things about us, and that's hearsay, but we know the facts. And it's the same thing for him. And I love that at the end of his account, he says like, I can't lie, for God knows it, I know it, and I will not lie, right? I love that.
And
So
and again, going back to what we were telling you guys, we talked about it last week, and I even think the week prior to that. And not just us, right? Not just members of this church, not just members of any other church or whatever, but the source of all good, the person who has the answers to everything. That's who you should be reaching out to and finding out if the things that you're reading or things that you're listening to, if they're true. We had someone come to church 2 Sundays ago, and the reason why she came to church, so she's not a member, and the only reason she came to church was because somebody said something nasty about our faith, and she goes, I have to go and find out for myself. And she just popped in, and she sat in the back, and we're like, whatever. And it was during testimony meetings, and so she's listening to all these testimonies, we're testifying, and then she stands up, and then she goes and bears testimony of what her friend said. Yeah, it was we were all like, what is happening right now? So
oh my gosh,
wonderful older lady, right? She's standing up there, and she goes, the only reason I'm here is because I went to this faith, and I went to this faith, and then in the last faith somebody told me not to come here. So she's searching, right? She's like, somebody told me not to come here because of this and this and this, so you know what, this is the reasons why I have to come. And so she came, and then now she's bearing witness. She's like, this is a wonderful church. And we're like, oh my gosh, right? It was the most amazing thing ever. But we're still talking about it, right?
I love that. Okay, so I found the part of the verse that I wanted to say of why Joseph wrote it, right? And he says, I have been induced to write this history to disabuse the public mind, disabuse the public mind, and put all inquiries after truth in possession of the facts, as they have transpired in relation both to myself and the church, so far as I have such facts in my possession.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it tells you right here, this is the reason why I'm writing, right? Just to put the facts out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Montoya, this guy AJ. Oh man, I think he's this guy. I love this guy. So we have a comment here. Can you see the comments on your end?
No, I can't see them.
Okay.
Wish I could. Hold on, let me see. No, I don't think I can.
Check the app. Okay. Anyways, Montoya, this guy's a really good. He's a good buddy, man. He's I know him from through a friend and everything. He goes, Miguel, you're live. Good to see you, brother. Montoya, good to see you too, man. It was a pleasure. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about this section, right? The account. And going back to what I was saying before about, it doesn't matter what faith, doesn't matter what religion, doesn't matter what you believe in. I think we can all agree there's one and true living God, and He is the source of all light, and He is the source of all good. and he has the answers to everything. So our invite to you is to pretty much do what Joseph did. And ultimately, there's actually 4 steps to receiving answers. And once we take you to these 4 steps and everything else, we invite you to do the exact same thing, right? Don't believe us. We're telling you not to believe us. We're telling you to go, pray, seek it out, study it out. And then we firmly believe that you're going to get an answer yourself as well. So.
Okay, I'm interested to know because one of the questions in the study guide that we follow, there is a question that says that how can I receive answers to my prayers?
Yeah.
Right? So we follow the Come Follow Me study guide, and that's one of the answers. So I'm interested to hear what you gathered out of how can I receive answers to my prayers from the section.
Well, that section from, let me pull it up here. This section, I think it was from 8 to 26, I believe it was. Right? It actually gives a formula in how to find the answers. Let me just pull this up here. So I broke it down into 4 steps.
Okay.
And
so what are your steps?
They are. Hang on one second, man. Just can you move on for a second?
I'm like, did you even read it? No, I'm just kidding.
It's 5.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's 5 through 26. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in this section, Joseph Smith, for section 1, verses 5 through 25, it actually gives a 4-part process as how to find answers to anything and all.
Sorry, I just got a text from Mike saying that I'm echoing.
Oh, you are?
I'm echoing again, yeah.
What's your mic?
So if you can hear us and you're watching us, please let me know if I'm echoing.
Did you change your mic?
No, it's the same mic, and I put default microphone.
See, if you would have been here earlier, then I'm joking.
Okay, I think, Mike, if you're there, please come and help me. Just kidding.
Is he there?
Well, he's downstairs. He's working. Okay. So hopefully, if you can hear us, please let us know in the comments if I am echoing, okay?
Yeah.
And then we can try to figure out. I switched okay. I switched the settings, but I guess I'll kind of see it.
Yeah, it says here there's a lot of echo and it sounds like you're underwater.
Yeah. Sorry guys, let me see. Make sure I have everything set. I'm sorry, we need to do that again.
Remember, tap the mic. Yeah,
it moves. Yeah. I don't know because when you and I talk together, it doesn't come through like that.
Okay. It's one of these things I think we're just going to have to power through.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I really hope it clears out.
Yes. So, in sections, in the Joseph Smith history, the 5 through 7 actually lists 4 steps as to what you can do to receive answers to all. And so I wrote them down here first. So section verses 8, 11, 14 through 15, it just talks about the importance of preparedness. So Joseph didn't just have a question. He actually studied it out. He went to many faiths, talked to many priests, talked to many church leaders, read the scriptures. I don't know, and I try to look for it, like how long actually his wandering stage was, right? Like he just kept thinking about it and wondering and talking to people about it and asking questions and just doing all like these different stuff. So there needs to be, I think, before that we can go into and do you remember the brother of Jared? It was the exact same thing with him too, right? Before he presented the stones to the Lord, he studied it out. He's like, well, we can't do this, we can't do that, and he looked for it. He must have had some knowledge of the scriptures and knowledge.
Yeah.
And then eventually he did something about it, right? But again, step 1 is there needs to be some form of preparedness, some things that you got to do beforehand. You got to put in the wheel. You got to put in the sweat, right?
Yeah. Sweat equity. Yes, well, agree.
I love that. I always say that, right? Sweat equity.
Always.
I always talk about sweat.
You are so full of wonderful wisdom. Yes.
You know what? I'm that gift that keeps on giving, people. Do you understand? Maria is so blessed to know me.
Clearly, I've started to speak like him. Okay, so the first so the first one, you have to put some sweat equity, you have to investigate, you have to research.
Right.
Okay.
And
So
then
what's your second step?
part of that is the study, right? So so it says here, the role of the scripture study and seeking revelation, right? So you gotta not just talk to people, but you also gotta go to the source, right? And so my mission president always said, if you have questions, if you want to talk to God, you pray, and if you want God to talk to you, you read your scriptures. And it's a very quotable thing. A lot of leaders of the old have said it, but my mission president always talked about, just you gotta read the scriptures. You gotta use your scriptures, especially when you're looking for answers. You can't just go and do your research with people and stuff like that, but you gotta get into the books, into the pages, and see what's going on there, right?
Yeah.
Third one is just know that you're going to face opposition. So it's not gonna be easy, right? Like there's going to be some pushback, either by people or by the adversary himself, right? Some form. So when the Lord talks to people, He will send His angels in form of people, us parents and whatever. And this is one of the things that was happening with me during this week, right? It's like I wasn't receiving heavenly messengers; I was receiving friends, and I started seeing these friends like you and my kids. And you know who showed up in my life? It was the guy that the during this week of like I'm my self-worth is at an all-time low. The chef from my wedding that I haven't seen in 21 years, he shows up.
Okay.
And he starts bombarding me with all these positive things and whatever. He goes up to my mom and goes, that man has a cross on his forehead, he is a saint. Now, for somebody that is suffering from self-worth, this man that I haven't seen in 21 years, just out of nowhere, popping out of nowhere, like that did a number on my soul, right? Like it started building me up. But just know that you are going to receive, on your way to asking questions, you are going to receive opposition. It's gonna come. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love that because I think sometimes that's the thing that we don't always think about. And I was actually thinking about this during this week with any part of our journey that we have that we want to get better, whether it's wellness, finances, anything, right? Sometimes we expect it just to be good and for us just to like kind of move through the motions when in reality we are going to face opposition. Part of life. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging and it's normal.
Yeah.
I think normalizing it as well makes it less scary when it does happen. When you're like, oh yeah, I was expecting this. Yes, this is normal. I'm going to keep pushing through.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And the last step is that when you are in during your preparedness, during your study, knowing that you're going to face opposition, that you have to accept the answers that you're going to get. Right? And so not only just accept, but also be ready to act.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things like I've long time ago I used to, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but there was this when I first started my fitness routine, my fitness world, I used to go to this gym and I was doing something called the pull down. What is it called? The lat pull down. So when you sit on the bench, you grab the bar and you pull it down, right? So I was pulling on this thing, but then I was pulling it behind my back, right? And so this lady this trainer, and it was a community rec center. She comes up to me, she goes, I take it that you're trying to work out your back. And I go, you take it well. That's exactly what I'm doing. She goes, okay. He goes, instead of pulling it behind your back, actually put the bar in front of your face, like pull it down. Go as close to your face as possible. Control it. If you don't have a lot of weight, then you'll be able to manage it, but never behind your back, always in front of your face. And I go, okay. And I go, why? She goes, well, if you pull it behind your back, it can really strain like the spine, and it can really, really injure it. But if you're in the front, it forces your back to be straight, which engages the actual muscles. I'm like, awesome. Right. And then I started doing it, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing other exercises, whatever. A week later, and throughout the week, she kept giving me tips and advices, right? A week goes by, and she kept coming up to me, and I go, why Like, why do you, you see you always walking around, but you're always giving me advices. Like, what's going on? She goes, because you actually listen and do. She goes, I sometimes give advice to people, and they're so prideful and they think they know it all. And you can tell that they are offended sometimes, and then they just continue doing whatever. She goes, I will never go back to those people. She goes, but with you, you always listen and you always adapt, and you always do. So you're coachable.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to receiving answers from the Lord, if you're not careful and you do receive an answer to a question that he has, that the question that you have, if you are not, if you don't act upon it, it's going to be much slower until you receive another answer to a future question, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like this, well, what's the point of me answering this question if he doesn't listen or she doesn't listen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you receive an answer, you got to be ready and you got to be prepared to act, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree. He's not going to give us something we're not ready for, right?
Oh, 100%.
So
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why he probably allows us and gives us the time to get ready in order to be able to act on those revelations and on those answers to our prayers. Or
Yeah.
yeah, those answers to our prayers.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I had something similar too with regards to it of how to prepare in order to receive how Joseph Smith prepared in order to receive such sacred experience. And right along the lines of what you said, right? He learned about all the different churches that were going on at the time. This was
Yeah.
a crazy time where it was so much excitement, so many different denominations kind of going against each other. And this is a young boy who wanted to join one of the faiths. It's not that he was looking to start it like another faith. He wanted to join it. So he investigated, he attended. But not only that, he read his scriptures.
Yeah.
He had a habit of reading his Bible. And that's why the Lord was able to speak through him through the Bible, through the scriptures. And I really do like what you said with regards to whenever we're seeking for answers, the time to ask those questions is during our prayer. The time to receive those answers is through studying and pondering.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He received an answer through James 1:5, where the Lord says, if any of ye lack wisdom, let them ask. How does it go? You probably know. Right now I'm having a blog.
Yeah. Well, let's read it. Hang on one second.
Yeah, let's read the scripture that he actually read.
Yeah. So if you guys have a Bible ready, actually, you know what we should do as well? We should have.
Pull it up.
What's that?
Pull it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
the question, here it is. And he's like, while I was laboring under extreme difficulties caused by the contest of these parties of religionists, I was one day reading the Epistle of James, first chapter, fifth verse, which reads, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given to him. And I love this part where he was ready for the answer that he was going to receive, right? Because he had investigated other churches, he had been a part of it. And then he says, never did any passage of scripture come with more power to the heart of man than did this for me. It seemed to enter with great force into every feeling of my heart. I reflected on it again and again.
Right.
So it's not only that I think it was a process. I don't think it was like right away, but he probably thought about it. He probably took a moment and was like, wait, it says on here that if I pray, if I lack wisdom, if I don't know what to do, and I pray to God, that he will give me wisdom, that he will instruct me, that he will let me know more. So he reflected on that question, which then led him to act, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just pressed something on here, guys. Let me know if the echo is better, but I just pressed something here. Just want to make sure that we just got another thing from Alexander saying that there is still echo. But anyways, so yeah, absolutely that. Now, what was I going to ask you? This is the one interesting thing about all of this and I love what you just said about the oppositions and the challenges he was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Good things comes from challenges. There is growth in the struggle, right? And so with Joseph,
it's that middle part.
What's
It's
that?
like that messy part it's like that middle part, right? All of us sometimes try to avoid that middle part, that messiness, that struggle, that learning and that growth. We just want to go from point A, not knowing, to like point B of like getting an answer and doing. kindergarten. They don't start off in university. Oh, was that a? I
What?
heard a really bad echo.
Did you just get an echo?
I thought I did.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I just put something.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us know. No, it's on my end. I'm playing with it. It goes here. I personally like the Echo Maria. It's an experience. Makes you sound extra important, like James Earl Jones vibe. Wait a minute.
Oh, I love you, Camilla.
That's Camila. Hang on one second. You're like, what is going on here? Yeah. What about me?
Guys, yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. We didn't have this echo problem before, but we'll figure it out. We'll make sure that this doesn't happen.
Yeah. So we apologize.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's the messy part, right? And I think people give up in the messy part. I fixed it, Miguel. You don't hear the echo anymore. Okay, great.
Oh, okay. Yay. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, just remember this. I changed the setting as well. It says Logitech Stream Cam. What? Did I change it on its own?
No.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah. I think so a lot of people give up in the I was about to say a lot of people give up in the echo. This echo thing's got me thrown off. What is happening? No, a lot of people give up in the in the messy part, and it hurts my soul every time somebody. First of all, it hurts my soul when somebody's going through challenges in life, and people, as a bishop, people come into my office all the time. This is what's going on. This is the pain. This is the hurt. This is what's happening, right? And it breaks my heart. But what breaks my heart even more is the fact that they give up. They either leave, they end relationships, and then they don't want to do things anymore or whatever. And I'm like, if you can just hold on just a little bit more, and you're not alone in this situation, right? Like, you are not alone. One of the scriptures that we're going to read future in Doctrine and Covenants is that the Lord does send angels. Like, he really does, right? To protect you and to comfort you and to help you. And if you can just learn to trust him, trust the process. And Maria, you always say this, right? Trust the process. There is growth. There is something wonderful on the other side. I don't know if you remember the guy by the name of Eric Thomas. He says,
Eric Thomas.
He says something so powerful. And every time I think about like giving up on a project, I always think of him. He says, if you give up, that pain is going to last forever. But if you just hold on, that pain is only going to last for a bit. That bit might be a week, it might be a month, it might be a year, but there's something else on the other side. And so with Joseph, I absolutely love his story, because he could have just been like, you know what? I don't have an answer. I'm just this is the closest faith that I have, and this is the one that I'm going to, right? And when he was in the grove, right? When he was in the grove, there was that where he just felt like, I don't want to be here, right? But again, he just kept still.
As we were talking, one of the thoughts that came through with regards to having that middle messy part, that painful part, the word, and like, you know how in the scriptures it says we endure to the end. One of the promises that we make when we are baptized is that we are going to endure to the end. But then as I was thinking about it, the word endurance came up to my mind, and I was like, what this is teaching us spiritual endurance. You know how people run and they build up their endurance?
Yeah.
You only build up your endurance through challenging where you're at right now. You're not going to build it if you're just doing what's comfortable.
Yeah.
If you're able to run like for 1 minute and you keep just running for 1 minute, you're never going to be able to build the capacity to run for 5. If you run for 5 and just continue to do that, you're not going to build the capacity to run for 30, right?
Yeah.
So it's a constant challenge.
Oh, I love that.
So that's what the Lord does. Like, I think he wants us to, and like, now I used to have a negative context with the word endure, because I always thought of I thought of pain, I thought of suffering. I was like, oh my God, you just kind of have to endure it, right? But now reflecting on it, I'm like, endurance brings joy. Endurance brings progress. Endurance brings reflection and self-awareness that you're like, wow, I started out here. Look at how far I've come. And that's what the Lord wants for us, right? And so anyway, when you're going through those seasons of challenges, just think about the endurance that you're building, and think about in context to things that may be more meaningful or not meaningful. The Lord speaks to me a lot through fitness. So I feel like when I hear certain words, I'm able to reflect of how they're applicable in the fitness sense,
Yeah.
but he will do the same for you in whatever it is that you find interesting, whatever hobby you have, whatever is meaningful to you, he will do the same, right?
Yeah.
So,
And I'm a broken record when I
yeah.
say this, and I've said this many, many times. And actually, this I have said is that these challenges is like going to the gym and working out, right? The only way that you're gonna get bigger, the only way that you're gonna get stronger. And I know that Camila just put a whole like gym in her house, and so Camila, just to let you know,
Oh my gosh, yes.
right? I'll be showing up just in the
When
middle
you're
of
in
the
Ottawa,
night.
you're just gonna show up. I'm just here to work out.
I'm gonna find a way to break in and just use her room. Did you see the setup?
100%. Oh my gosh.
Ridiculous.
I was so excited. I've worked out in her gym and it was already fabulous. So I can't even imagine right now with everything else she
Yeah.
has. I'm like, heck to the yes.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Anyways, and so one of the things with fitness is that you get stronger when you add weight. The minute you start taking off weight, and the minute you just stay at the same weight level, you plateau, and if not, you get slower or you get weaker, right? So the one true way to get stronger is by adding weight. It doesn't have to be 45 plates at a time. It can be as simple as 5. I saw this huge, massive guy. He was working on his chest the other day, and he was adding. He was trying to beat his PR, and all he did was just add 2 5s. That's it. Like that's all. That's an extra 10 pounds on his bench press, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at, and this guy was big, right? And I'm like, this guy, he's not looking to.
That's someone who understands. No, but that's somebody who understands the process, right?
Yeah.
Who understands the importance of pushing yourself, but not pushing yourself to the point where you're gonna be discouraged.
Oh, 100%, right? And
think that you can't do it, right?
And he wasn't there, for the imagery of others, for the approval. He was there.
Yeah.
He knew the process. He had 5 pounder plates on both sides, and to him, this is progress, and this is part of the growth, right? So, listen, there's one thing that I want to bring here, and this is the answer to my question that I want to throw at you right now, and just to get your opinion. So this was, again, if you're just joining in the beginning of the podcast, I talked about how I was facing some, I do sometimes suffer from low self-esteem and whatever, and I mask it well because that's who I am. I've learned.
I can tell how uncomfortable you look.
I am getting so uncomfortable. You know me so well. Like I'm not even making eye contact.
When Miguel's uncomfortable, he would look away. So if he's talking and he's always like looking everywhere, right in front of him.
Don't call me out. Don't be giving.
The audience will also get to know you. Go ahead.
Don't be calling out my trade secrets, dude. So yeah, I can't even look at the camera anymore. You're not even here. But I was at an all-time low. I don't know when the last time. I don't even think I've ever been in this position that I was before. And then I went through it. Everything was great. And then I read this in the Come Follow Me. It goes, it's just a simple question, right? What can you do to allow others to receive good experiences / and what I put in brackets, revelation?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
What I wrote.
What's that?
I'm interested to see what I wrote too. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So what can you do to allow others to receive revelation? It never, such a question has hit me so hard to bring me to a realization of my role to allowing other people to receive good experiences and revelation in their own life. What I do, and I have to be, and like it's opened up my mind in how I conduct myself, and if it's a good thing, then continue, whatever. But how I treat others is very, very, very important. I know so many people that have left their faith because of something that was said. And again, I get it. I understand.
Yeah, if you don't mind me sharing.
No, please do.
But so Miguel had a conflict a few weeks ago, and when you and I were chatting, one of the things that you said to me when we were talking about it, you're like, I never fully understood when people are offended and people leave the church. Like, it's like you kind of get it in your mind, but then at the same time, you don't always get it. But what you said to me, he's like, I fully understand because those are the feelings that I had.
Yeah.
Everything got cloudy. Like everything got cloudy. I was okay with not coming back to church.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm like
I
that.
know. Even saying
Yeah.
it right now, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
But that's important. I feel like that's such a powerful insight because I always, in the scriptures and things that I've read, authorities have said, Heavenly Father and Christ have the ability to use any negative experience in our lives for our own growth and learning and understanding, right? So I feel like even though this particular insight came through such a hardship of yourself and challenging your own self-esteem and things that you struggle with, insecurities that you struggle with, the fact that you said that, and then you looked at me and you said, now I get it.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. I was like,
yeah, it's very similar to when I served a mission and I talked about the plan of salvation. And in the essence, the foundation of the plan of salvation is the father will give the child everything they have because of pure love. Right? Like that's the plan of salvation. God, Father has everything, mansions and spiritual everything, whatever, powers and authorities. And the Father wants to give their children everything. And so he will prepare a way for them to go receive experiences, come back, report. But then the reward is to receive, the original plan is to receive everything that the Father has. So I taught that. I taught that for 2 years in Puerto Rico. Like, and I know the discussions by heart, easy. But it wasn't until I had a child of my own that I realized, oh, okay. Yeah, everything that is mine, I will give to my kids because of pure love. So I understood, right? And so it was the same thing to what you're saying. I always heard about people being offended and leaving, and we were always, a lot of people take the stance like, well, I don't get it, right? I understood it. I got it for the first time, right? And it was scary. And so I never have I realized, and again with this lesson, the importance of magnifying your calling and treating people with love, respect, and just helping them out because, and here's the thing is, right, nobody's perfect. And at the end of the day, if somebody leaves or somebody gets offended, there's a little bit of onus on them as well, right? But if you did do the offense, you have to humble yourself and apologize and say, hey, I'm sorry. It came out wrong, and just admit what you did, right? And I think when both parties do that and we tailor our vision to the Lord, we can have strong members in the community that will just continue progressing forward.
yeah. So I did Bev sent me this video. It was with President Eyring. I was preparing for a young women's meeting, and it was a beautiful video that she sent me with regards to resolving conflict or even conflict that happens in, I don't want to say conflict, but the difference of opinions that happen during these meetings that our apostles, our prophets have. President Eyring talked about how the first time that he ever saw it, where he was actually shocked, he thought it was going to be different, I guess. He thought everybody was going to be agreeable. Everybody was going to be like, okay, let's do this, let's do that, right? But he said that to his surprise, there was so many different opinions and so many different life experiences and all that stuff. But then one of the things that struck me the most, the thing that replays in my mind all the time, he said, there's a difference between wanting to be right and doing what's right.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then I'm like Mike and I recently had a fight, and I was thinking about it in my mind, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, there's a difference between, I'm like, do I want to be right or do I want to do what's right?
Yeah.
And those two things were different, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's power in thinking of that.
Yeah, it's yeah, that is powerful. Wow.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you here. And I think I think this is the main, this is the meat and potatoes of today's lesson. And I want everybody to please just think about this question and what it means to you, right? Why is the first vision so important? Maria, why is the first vision so important? Why is the first vision so important to you?
Because to me, it reveals that God cares about us, that he is the same as how he was in the past, now, and in the future. He are, there was prophets back in the day. They received revelation, they received guidance, and the thought is like those things aren't done yet. They're not done. He's going to be the same way to us. So that's why it's important to me. I think the biggest thing though is the love that he has for me.
Yeah.
Really, right? That he has provided a means for me to navigate this life, to have all the tools necessary to learn through story. There's something in our minds that helps us to understand better and apply principles when we learn through storytelling, as opposed to do this, do that, right? And that's what the scriptures are. The scriptures are stories of real people having real questions and seeking guidance, and the Lord giving that guidance, right? So to be able to learn from that and to apply those principles in my life, it's life-changing. I think I wouldn't be the person that I am today had not the first vision happen, and had I not had access to the gospel of Jesus Christ the way that I do right now. So
outside,
what about you?
Outside of the atonement, this event is the greatest event in all history of humankind. It in a matter of, and that vision took what, I don't know, 3, 5, 10 minutes in total. I don't know how long, that
Well,
vision.
can you imagine? It was so simple and so beautiful. It was Heavenly Father pointing to his son and said, "Hear him."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love what.
And then they gave him instruction about what church to join or what not to do, like not to join any churches. But I think of the magnitude and the beauty that comes from that is incredible.
100%. I love what Camila says here. For me, the importance is because it teaches us all what we can do to find our faith, and we are responsible for our testimonies, right? 100%. So for me, this first vision, 5-10 minutes, however long it took, it revealed so many lost doctrinal truths, right? And it was the beginning of the last dispensation, right? The final days, the latter days here on the earth. But for me, and I'll tell you this right now, and I've used this many, many times, and then as I was reading this, it was like, it really put the nail in the coffin. Out of all the things that the Father, and I don't know why I'm starting to get so emotional right now. Out of all the things that the Father could have said to Joseph, the first words that he uttered out of his mouth was calling Joseph by name. Was calling Joseph by name, meaning that the Father knew exactly who he was and where he was and what he needed. For me, that is the greatest. A lot of people, many faiths, many believes that there is an almighty God, and he, we all believe in the exact same thing, but this really brought it home for me. The fact that the Father called Joseph by name, Joseph, this is my beloved son, hear him. He knows us. He is not just a God up there, like he's our Father. And I know all my 7 kids' names, right? And I know who they are. I know their personalities. And I'm just a limited man. But this is the almighty, all-powerful, omnipresent God. And in his infiniteness of greatness, he still knows the little things, like our name. And for me, I'm just like, I am not alone. He is with me. He is with us, and he will come.
Doesn't that give you
us.
an extra pep in your step too?
Oh my gosh!
Like to know that you're not like.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, because it does the same for me. It gives me a little extra pep in my step, a little like, courage to be like, okay, I'm not alone. I got this. I can do this.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, right? And anyway, so that was the crowning moment. I think that is the crowning moment of the faith of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's the first vision, and all the truth that all the truth that were restored, all the doctrines that were lost. But the one crowning moment is that God knows us by name. So, yeah,
absolutely. I love that.
What about? I already asked you. Okay, cool. Anything else that you picked up?
There was a few talks that were attached to to this section, and there was this particular talk by President Nelson. The title is "Hear Him," And I really love, okay, so I love President Nelson so much because I find so much clarity when he speaks, because he says, if you do this, these are the promised blessings.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can literally pick up anything like that. There's a point A, there's a point B, right? Like you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
If you do it, you know what the thing is. And this morning, as I was studying it, so he says, I put, if I study my scriptures, worship and serve in the temple, increase my capacity to feel the Holy Ghost, and listen to the words of the prophets, I will, so this is the promised blessings, be blessed with additional power to deal with temptation, struggles, and weakness. I will see miracles in my marriage and family relationships and my daily work, and I will increase my capacity to feel joy through any experience that I have in my life.
Love it.
So I was like,
Yeah.
I just love this man so much.
Yeah. he's
I
all
love
right.
how much
Yeah.
clarity.
Yeah.
He's so wise, so incredible, so kind and loving. He's such an encourager.
Yeah.
And he always ends with a blessing. Like he's always blessing us in some way. So I was saying that the greatest thing that we have right now as far as prophets, I mean, our first prophet was Joseph Smith, who started this dispensation, who shared with us his experience with the first vision, and then the Book of Mormon came forth, and now here we are with the Doctrine and Covenants, and we have all this knowledge and these tools, and yet the Lord still continues to reveal to us.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't like, okay, Doctrine and Covenants is here, we're said and done, that's it. Like, that's all you get. But rather, the Lord is still here, still instructing us, still directing us towards his scriptures, still telling us what to do, still giving us promises, right?
Yeah.
So,
I
don't know. I found it exciting.
I encourage you that when this upcoming general conference, just to hear how many times he says, brothers and sisters, I promise. He's always giving you promises,
I'm always
right?
like, right.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
I love
he's
his
about to promise
promises.
something, right?
Listen, 100%. And I take heed, right? I'm like, okay, he said this. This is exactly what I need to do. Like one of his last things that he said in the last general conference, he asked us to ensure that we increase our capacity to receive revelation so we can know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Right, in the world. And that's exactly what we need. There's so many competing opinions and things happening and like different like doctrines of men and like all these things that are going on, that if you do not have a direct line with Heavenly Father, your own line, because there's only so much that a podcast will do, there's only so much that attendance at church will do, there's only so much that like just being passive in it will do. If you're actively engaged and kind of fortifying your own roots and your own testimony, you will be able to know those things that are right and those things that are wrong. And I have come to see that some things are really subtle.
Yeah.
Like some things that you're like, oh, I think this is okay. And then you come to find out you're like, yeah, you know what? This doesn't fully align with my values. So anyway.
I have a couple of key words here before we end off. So in that time of Joseph and trying to look for an answer, he says that there were a war of words, right? So just understand that war hasn't gone away. Like
If
I think
anything, it's going to keep intensifying.
Thank you. Yeah. With social media and just blurring some of the lines, right? And you know, eat, drink, sleep, be merry. It's the war of words have not ended with the restoration. In fact, yes, you're right. It hasn't testified. It has been intensified. And I think it's the longest lasting war that humankind has seen, to the point that actually rolled over from where we came from, right? So the war in heaven was a war of words, right?
Yeah.
And so just keep that in mind, that this war, until the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, until the last days, and this war will continue. So having said that, it leads me to my second point, which is my last point. I don't know what you have. But it says here that we are entitled to heavenly visions and or clearer visions. So just like with Joseph was going through his war of words and just the noticing whatever, and how it's happening here with TikTok and Instagram and just your testimonies and all this other stuff, whatever, you need to know that if you go to the Father, who knows you by name, by the way, we've established that.
He will call you by name. Exactly.
That you will receive heavenly visions and or clearer visions. And once that gets done, you need to share your impressions. Yeah. Right? It is it is beyond important that you share your testimony. And and Camila, thank you so much. She wrote here, thank you guys for being valiant in sharing your gospel and in your light. Love you both. Thank you. And we love you too.
Love you, girl.
Yeah. But 100%, right? You're going to come across oppositions. When you put in the work and you get your answers, the next part is you have to share your impressions with others, right? Share your testimonies. It's very, very important.
Yeah, it fortifies your own testimony.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome.
For sure.
Well, that is it for me. I don't know if you got any other impressions. These are everything that I got.
No, I think that's pretty much it for me as well. Just with regards to, if anything, if I can encourage anything through this podcast, is just nourishing your own roots, working on your own testimony, doing the work. You know what I mean? Like this gospel is an incredible gospel. It's a living gospel. It's something that will give you so much joy and peace and these incredible things in your life. But they're accessed through our work. Yeah. They're not there passive. They're not just going to divinely come to us without us reading our scriptures, without us going to church, without us serving in the capacities that we have both at home and in the church, right? Sometimes we have this expectation to go to church and be nourished, which is good, but a better expectation to go and nourish someone else, to go and be the hands of Christ. Right? Yeah. So let's become a community. I've been reading this book with regards to how much we have lost communities, and nowadays we don't have neighborhood communities anymore because everybody's so busy. We don't have family communities anymore because everybody lives everywhere. We have an incredible opportunity to be a church community. Let's go in there and let's do the work. Let's not just focus on what we can get out of it. Let's focus on what we can give into it and create that community in Christ, right? So
I say that all the time, right? I say that all the time. Just, it's not about what you can get, it's what you can give to the rest of the community. Yeah. I'm glad that
I'm learning so much from you, Miguel. I just like to say thank you.
Listen,
your bishop capacity has really enlightened my way.
Listen,
shining.
What can I say except for you're welcome? That's all I have to say, right? Maria, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh. You're so funny. All right. That is it from us, guys. We are so grateful that you have tuned in and spent almost an hour with us, sharing the love of the gospel, sharing your comments, sharing your testimonies on here. It is really such a privilege to be here and to be with you guys.
Absolutely. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And just make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and pass this out. Or you know what? There might be something here that if you got out of it, somebody else might too as well. Join us every Monday for our VS podcast, where it's human progression, and then on Fridays, every Friday mornings, where it's a Christian-based podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
That's it. Okay, so ready for the boring song? No, ready for the boring song?
Okay. Oh, is it back? Oh my gosh, guys. If you guys have a song in mind that we can use to begin and end. Actually, no, the song was pretty good.
No, the beginning song was good. It's I kept it for the closing. It's just it's a good wind down song after hearing us for about an hour. Right?
All right. Well, we love you guys. Hope you enjoyed this last song. It might put you to sleep. So
take care.